So, welcome everybody. Happy full moon and happy May Day. This is a very special full moon, actually. And I'm very happy that Archangel Michael asked to do a full moon global transmission for this evening because he's said that he wants to do a series of them this year. But I still have not gotten the message to go ahead and schedule every month and to go ahead and schedule having people sign up for the whole series. So I'm just doing them month to month according to intuition. So Reverend Anna Jones, and most of you probably who are participating in this know my work. I've been sending it out to people on my email newsletter, and kind of a whole bunch of new things happening growth-wise behind the scenes in my life, and a whole bunch of stuff that's going to be kind of emerging that I'm not going to have time to talk about here tonight, because I do want to spend a little bit of time here in the introduction talking about the specialness of this full moon, and also then, of course, going through the questions for the transmission tonight, because the process the angels gave me, they said to always approach with questions, and I'll put those questions out kind of as I'm going through this introduction. If for some reason a friend forwarded you this and you're not familiar with my work, you're welcome to go to my website, which is annajonesonline.com, and there you can watch interview of me from the Mystic Summit a couple of years ago. You can also read my bio. You can see all the private session work that I offer, because I do this type of deep trance channeling of the angels and spirit guides in private session work. But in the private session work, it's actually your angels and guides that come through, and it's your questions that we work with, right? So yes, you can learn more about myself, and you can get all of the podcast up there. All of these recordings from this year, so far there's been one that was last month, and all the ones from tonight, so the recording from tonight, and ones that'll be made in this series of global transmissions, and many global transmissions there'll be this year, will be put on the Celestial Voice podcast, which can always be accessed directly on my website at annajonesonline.com. And if you go to the website, you click on podcasts, it's the only podcast that's there as far as the Celestial Voice podcast, and it's always the one that's at the top. So if you ever want to know what's the latest, I missed the full moon transmission, what's the latest, you can always go look at, oh, how she released that, I missed the email, or maybe I'm late getting the email out, which happens these days because I just felt I need more assistance. But it usually takes a minimum of 3, more like 5 to 7 to 10 business days before it's put up everywhere into the podcast format. I usually label it something. I have to go through and make sure that the recording is clean. And then I also write a little description. And then we also put it up, as I said, it's also the release, not just on my website where you can download it for free and listen to it anytime, but it's also released on Apple Podcasts, which are also, some people know as iTunes, right? That's what it always used to be known as, iTunes, where you can subscribe and get an email once it's been posted, actually. And then also the newer stuff, last year's stuff and this year's stuff, is available on the Celestial Voice podcast on YouTube. So I do send out an email to remind you, but just in case you don't see the email, or the email is even later than how it gets posted, you can always subscribe to the Celestial Voice podcast on Apple Podcasts, or you can subscribe to it on YouTube, and maybe even get it sooner than the emails go out. So that's how the recordings are going to be. But I said I was going to share a little bit with you about this special full moon that we're at. So today, May 1st, is the approximate, not the exact on the dot, but the celebration of the energetic, let's put it that way, and astrological halfway point between the spring equinox. Can you believe it already? It's already halfway into spring, between the spring equinox and the summer solstice. That halfway point is celebrated by ancient cultures around the world. In the ancient Celt tradition, Druid tradition, it would be known as Beltane, a time when the energies just are begin to to surge and rise, and the light begins to grow stronger. And there's this whole flood of masculine and feminine energy moving in, and it's very high energy, powerful, positive energy. It doesn't always come on the full moon. So May 1st is not always, obviously, not a full moon. So it's especially amplified the fact that this is the full moon on this day of the May Day celebration, or what's called the Beltane celebration. What's also special about that energy shift is those like myself who like work with planetary energies, we understand that the energy shift that happens at these halfway points brings in the tide for the new season. It's an energetic tide. It's not a watery tide. Although it can be an emotional tide, that's for sure, but it begins to shift the energies into the next season. So May Day, this halfway point, also known as Beltane, is also the beginning of what's called summer tide. Summer tide beginning that shift in energy, kind of like when the tide starts to shift and it starts to bring in a new move towards a new high tide. Well, summer solstice being the next high tide, right? So the tide is starting to shift again. These are energetic tides, not ocean. I'm just using an analogy, right? So these are energetic tides bringing in the summer energy. And so every week, more and more and more, we're going to feel things are going to feel like that energy is increasing. The light is going to definitely be increasing. That we'll start feeling the days getting longer, even more so. We'll start feeling, that peak solar energy that's coming at the time of the summer solstice. That's when the next shift of tides will be, and the peak of the summer energy will be arriving. The peak light will be arriving. So it's usually one of my favorite times of the year. I usually feel like there's just so much, good energy. There's so much beauty of the spring. There's still spring, right? Summertime is starting, but we're still in spring for 6 more weeks. So it's a beautiful, beautiful time of the year. And again, when it's amplified by this full moon, and this full moon is it's actually, astronomically speaking, astronomy, right? When you look up in the night sky and you look at like, okay, what exactly is the constellation that it's in? This full moon is in the constellation of Libra. So that balancing energy, right? That balanced energy that it brings it's in the constellation of, and in sidereal astrology, that's what's discussed. In tropical Western astrology, which is not my expertise in any way, shape, or form, that's not what I'm here really to talk about. I'll just share just a tiny bit about it. It's not in the sign of, it's not in the constellation of Taurus, but it's carrying the energy of Taurus because of where it is in the seasonal cycle of spring, right? So this is I believe it's the second full moon in the spring season. Yes, it's definitely the second one, the second full moon in the spring season, and that's why it's carrying the energy of Taurus. So we actually have both energies. There's both energies that we feel, and there's both energies that are kind of going along with that energy of the moon tonight. But it's also a full moon that's special in the Buddhist tradition, actually, known as Wesak or Visak, known as the time period that celebrates the moon, the moon time that celebrates the enlightenment of the Buddha. I believe there's several other things that celebrated along with this day in regarding to, so I've heard some people say it's even the celebration of the birth, and not just the enlightenment as well, but definitely the enlightenment of. And so it's a very good day for self-realization, spiritual work of this nature. Even if it wasn't a full moon, it always is. Wesak is always on a full moon, but even if it wasn't Beltane, is what I meant to say, it would be a very good day for this. But when you got all three, it makes it a very good day for spiritual work, spiritual messages, spiritual meditation, spiritual practices really of any kind. Also, very important, powerful day for intentions. It's believed that the intentions that we put out, they get amplified and they get returned to us, and they come about even more on this particular full moon, on this Wesak celebration. It's also believed that things are more easily able to manifest we set intentions for. So I encourage you, as we start to go into the invocation prayer that I'm going to guide you go into tonight for invoking the Archangel Michael and invoking really the light enlightening energy that he has to give us, the enlightenment energy that he has to share, the light activation enlightening energy that he has to share with the earth, with all of humanity. I'll encourage you, and I'll try to do my best to leave a little opening of time for everybody to do some of their own personal intention setting before going too deeply into it. It's even a good time to do journaling types of intention setting for yourself. What I've learned since I've been doing energy healing since the age of 14, what I've learned is energy flows where intention goes. And I learned it a long time ago. At the time, I didn't really think, oh, okay, that's a nice saying. Oh, that's catchy. When I was first learning that, I was like, oh, that's cool. I mean, it definitely sounded cool, but I didn't quite get it until over time, more and more and more, really understanding that intention is activated will. And with our will, we have the power to create and co-create in this reality. And it's a very powerful thing to activate that intention when we activate that will when we set an intention. That's also what prayers ultimately are too, right? They're activated forms of intention just being put out in a different type of format, right? Different type of format. So because of all of that I just stated, I'll start some questions now that I have for Archangel Michael tonight. The instruction is to never approach them without questions. And because of the nature of these global transmissions, I always feel like it's too difficult to take questions from everybody. So it's better for me to just set them on our behalf, and he can go any direction that he wants to go anyway, and he always does, right? So, but again, I'm not approaching without the questions. So given all the nature of today, I would like to ask Archangel Michael if he wants to speak to us about anything during this shifting of the tides, this shifting of energy, this new light that's coming in, not just leading up to the summer solstice only, but where that ushers in through the whole summer, because that summer tide will continue to go all the way through till August 1st, when the beginning of the fall tide begins. The shift starts to happen to take us energetically more and more into the fall. So throughout the summer, even throughout the year, if there's anything that he always wants to make us aware of energies coming in. Last time, actually, before I get into that, I'll finish what is things pertaining to this. Since it is Vesak, since it is the sacred time celebrating enlightenment and self-realization, is there any teachings that he wants to give us on that is along the lines of things that have come through and other teachings, other spiritual traditions, but he wants to not just repeat, but maybe add some new insight into, or just share in a different kind of way for us, or something else entirely that he wants to reveal about self-realization? Not saying that he might give like a whole brand new teaching on it, but I think that a lot of what's been brought through over the ages is probably the depth of the wisdom, but you never know, because there's a whole bunch of breadth and depth that perhaps it's time for us to open up to and open to receive. So I'm open to receive whatever it is, and to just allow myself to be the instrument, which is really what my job is. I'm hearing what's being said at the same time that you're hearing it. And I am in the deep meditative trance state, also receiving visuals, things along that line. There can be a whole other type of experience that I'm having that's auditory, visual, etc., on top of even what's being said. It's different for my experience every time. And I'm just allowing myself to be the instrument through which the transmission is being brought through. And what's coming through me is just the vocal part of the transmission. If anything, I'm just grounding some of that energy and allowing some of that energy to move through me and to move through my voice, and allowing him to vocalize his message through my voice. But really, the light transmission is coming to all of you, right? And it's going to all of the earth and all beings. So whatever this new tide of light energy transmission is that he wants to do this evening at this time of the shifting tides of energy. What is there anything he wants to say about that? Is there anything that he wants us to do to receive it? I'm always open to asking him if there's anything that we need to be doing right now, just in general in our lives, that we're not doing. He has touched on this a few times in the most recent transmissions last month on the full moon. And then the podcast right underneath the one at the top, which was the one on the last month, was from the winter solstice. And both times he brought up being able to always pay attention if there's something that he talks about twice. And of course, I did ask him about it, but he doesn't always answer the things that I ask about, and that's okay. I'm not asking in a way that I'm attached or having any expectations. I'm really just following the instructions and just putting things out there that could be helpful for all of us to know. But for both times, he brought up being able to communicate, expanding our ability to communicate and communicating with each other in better ways, and also about any types of things and on any types of topics. And that it's like very difficult for us to communicate about certain topics in our relationships with each other, definitely in relationships with people maybe who we don't even know very well, but even with people who we know well. So I thought that was very interesting that he brought it up twice, and there were some teachings that he was giving around that. Even last month, right? The moon cycle, the month moon cycle. Last month, he brought up the nervous system in a very unique way, and the soul, the way that the soul interfaces with the nervous system. In fact, if you haven't listened to that transmission, I highly recommend doing so, because it's one of those. It is a unique message, unlike anything else that I've even heard out there, and I've even gotten feedback from some of you and some people who've listened to it, just how unique and helpful and insightful it was. But it seems like there's so much more to it, right? So much more to the nervous system and how it functions and how it's meant to like ground our soul's energy, through us. But it gets very out of balance, and it gets very triggered into more of an anxiety kind of fear, fight or flight kind of reaction. I'm just kind of using my words. I'm not necessarily using his. And it seemed like to me it was all interconnected with our inability to maybe communicate better with each other and about very difficult topics. Yet look at how many difficult topics there are in the world that we really do need to be communicating on, and not having any kind of breakdowns of communication happening, which he's indicated, even though he may not use, again, I'm paraphrasing, or I'm even using my words, not necessarily his. I'm not quoting here verbatim. I'm just kind of giving my summary about it. So he states it all much better than I am able to. Even in my recall, I don't even always remember it. Like yourselves, I have to go back and listen to the recordings again, just to be able to hear it. And even after listening to it again, and even after reading the transcript, there's still parts of it that will fade, like everybody else. The memory fades, but there's parts of it that stick, and there's certain things that really do stand out. And so that part stood out. Is there anything further that he would like to tell us about how to communicate better? Since he does want to bring through a series of full moon transmissions, I just don't know if it's all going to be every month on the full moon, or if it's just going to be, a few months and then a break in a few months. I really don't know, but he does want to do a series of full moon transmissions. Is there anything specific about, a theme? Like, is this communication? Is that, since this is the theme of two messages, it's repeated as a theme, not the theme, but a theme. Sometimes he's given like a theme for the year, and so I'm wondering, is that the theme for all of these messages? If he doesn't say anything, then the answer is probably no. But if it is, if he could elaborate more on what this is, like last year, he gave a series of messages on the emotions. He did say that he's going to continue to speak more about them. So I'll also add if there's anything further that he wants to say about our emotions and how the emotions affect the nervous system, also how the emotions are affecting that difficulty with communication that we're having with being able to talk about, like, very big, very important topics, very large, complicated, complex topics. So if there's any like emotion specifically that he wants to talk about tonight. But again, since it's a special evening, just self-realization, enlightenment, anything he wants to share with us on those topics would be just great, whether he goes into anything else or not. Okay. All right. So I think that covers all the questions, all the things that I wanted to share with you tonight about this full moon. And so I'm going to just take a quick drink of water, and then I'm going to tell you about the process, and we're going to go guide you. I'm going to guide you into the process. Okay. All right. So the angels gave me this process years ago, said it would always work if I keep using it. So I continue to use it. And the process is ask the question. So that's already been done. And now to go through a four-step process, or four-part process that's done in 5 steps. Let's call it that, a four-part process that's done in 5 steps. And you can sometimes think of it as a circle. It helps you understand it, especially for those of you who are new to it. So it's praising, asking, thanking, receiving, and returning back to praising again. So praising, asking, thanking, receiving, and back to praising again. So I'm going to guide us through that four-part process and through the 5 steps. The fifth step, the fifth returning back to praising, will actually be after the whole transmission is over, after he says goodbye in whatever way that he's going to say goodbye, or just go quiet. And after I start to bring us up out of the meditation, the best way to actually experience this is to follow along with this and actually experience it, not just sit and listen to it with the analytical mind where you're trying to analyze it or write notes from it as fast as possible. You'll have if you want to take notes from it, you'll have the recordings available. You can even download the recordings for free. They're free recordings on the podcast, and you can download them for free also. So you can take notes later. The best way is to go through this process and to experience every step of the process. So the praising is really very, very important. It's not about being boastful or anything like that. That's not that kind of praise. It really is about love and devotion, and being able to kind of open our hearts through these sacred divine names. And those sound vibrations of those sacred divine names. And so the praise chant the angels gave me years ago, it's not the only praise chant that I use in all of my work as an interfaith minister, but the praise chant that I use for all of this angel work, for as long as they tell me to use it, as long as they tell me to do it, is Adonai, Elohim, Adonai, Eloheinu. And then I put the name, if whatever angel is being invoked at the beginning and at the end of that chant. And it's Hebrew names for the divine. So these are ancient Hebrew names for the divine. And so Michael is a pronunciation of Michael's name, El being another ancient Hebrew name for God. Michael, meaning he who is like unto God. So Michael is invoking Archangel Michael. So Michael is just another pronunciation. Michael is another pronunciation. Michael, Michelle, there's so many different pronunciations of the name, right? So that is put at the beginning, and that is put at the end. So the whole praise chant will be Michael, 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 Adonai, Elohim, Adonai, Eloheinu, Michael, Michael, Michael. And I'll be singing that, and I want to invite you all There's everybody is muted. I'm not able to see or hear you. Nobody's able to see or hear you. You're wherever you are. So if you can do it either silently or out loud, again, the best way to experience the best experience of this, even if you're watching it on video later or listening to it on podcast later, is to participate. Because Archangel Michael assures me that wherever we are in space, like wherever we are in the distance around the world, wherever we are in distance around the country, and wherever we are in time, because space time are a continuum with each other, that he can come through and he will come through when he's invoked in this way, regardless of whether it's now or later, although it's special, I think, to do it at these amplified times when all this work is amplified and this light work that he's doing is live, but he can still come through and make a personal connection with you. People often tell me it's one of the top most feedbacks that I get is that they felt like Archangel Michael was making a personal connection with them or speaking directly to them in some way or said something exactly that they felt they needed to hear, right? That's a very, very common thing that I get as far as the feedback is concerned. So that's because they're making that personal connection through going through this process, not just listening to, hey, what was the message? Okay, think about that, analyze that, take notes from it. That's all left brain activity, but being able to be in that receptive, heart open, mind open, including that right brain function of the mind open to allow ourselves to receive, right? To allow ourselves to receive. But from the praising, I'll guide us into the next step of the invocation of asking specifically for Archangel Michael to come. And then I'll guide us from the asking to the thanking. And so just a gratitude prayer. I'll guide you through it, but you can say it in whatever way feels comfortable to you. Don't feel like you got to say it exactly the way that I'm saying or whatever. And the main thing is to be able to go through the steps, right? So to be able to just kind of put gratitude out in whatever way feels right to you. And then from asking into receiving, in that receiving is where I'm going to guide you to just go into a relaxed, meditative, listening state, right? And just let yourself be open to receive. And that's when the vocal part of the transmission will come through. It's also when he sends whatever energy that he's sending to us, not just through me, but to us, to all of us individually, and to all of us collectively, and to the earth collectively, is when that part of the receiving, when we're in that receiving state, when we're in that receiving, we can receive that, and then back to praise again. So that's the process we're going to do, and let's go ahead and jump right on in and do it. All right, we're going to make ourselves comfortable. We're going to sit back and close our eyes. And we're going to begin by taking some long, slow, deep breaths in order to center ourselves. Before we begin the praise chant, I said I would take a moment here to let us do some personal intention setting. So right now, while you're doing some deep centering breaths, would be a good opportunity to do that. Some personal intention setting for your own enlightenment, your own self-realization, spiritual realization, as well as for humanity's. And any other personal intentions that you want to send out at this powerful time of this May Day, this full moon, this special day for spiritual enlightenment. Now that we've had a chance to send out our personal intentions, now we'll begin the process. We'll begin with the praise chant. I'll just start singing it, and you can join in with me out loud or silently. Michael. 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 Adonai Elohim. Adonai Eloheinu. Mikael, 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 Mikael. Adonai Elohim, Adonai Eloheinu. Mikael, 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 Adonai Elohim, Adonai Eloheinu, Mikael, 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 Adonai Elohim, Adonai Eloheinu, Mikael, 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 Adonai Elohim, Adonai Eloheinu, Mikael, 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 Adonai Elohim, Adonai Eloheinu, Mikael, Mikael, Mikael. Inhale. Now I'm going to guide us into the next step, which is asking. And so, what we're going to ask first, silently or out loud, it's totally up to you. I'm going to be doing so silently. But join me in asking for the presence of divine love and the presence of divine light to be fully with us, to be fully present. And then let's ask, join me in asking that we be protected and connected by divine love and divine light, individually as well as collectively, that we unite our light with the light of the angels, with the light of the divine, with each other in a circle of love, in a circle of light. A circle that connects us and protects us, no matter where we are in space or time, during this special time for the receiving of this transmission. And then the next thing we're going to ask is specifically for Archangel Michael's presence to come forth, for him to draw his presence near to us individually, into our circle of light, and near to the earth. Let's ask for him to send whatever energy transmission he is able to and meant to send for our healing and for our enlightenment, personally and collectively. Ask him to hear the questions that I have verbalized on all of our behalf, to give any answers or insights or guidance that he wants to give through a vocal transmission, a message transmission on any of those topics, on any of those questions. And let's silently give him permission to speak freely about anything that he feels is for our highest good collectively, and for the highest good of all. And then we're going to move into our gratitude. First, our feelings of gratitude for Archangel Michael. We're going to feel gratitude for him in our hearts. We're going to send that gratitude out to him directly, thanking him for all that he is, all that he does, everything that he does for us, and all that he is for this world. Things that we know and things that we don't know, seen or unseen, felt or unfelt. Let's just offer our gratitude to Archangel Michael. And then our gratitude prayer, or whatever way you want to send it out, the next step of it is to offer a silent prayer of thankfulness and appreciation for the many blessings in your life, directly to the divine, to the higher power, to however your relationship is with that higher power, that divine presence. Just sending out your gratitude for all of the blessings that are in your life, including the blessing of life itself. And now we're going to go from the thanking into the receiving. And so for the receiving, I want you to just deepen your breathing, let yourself relax even more now, relaxing into a quiet, just meditative listening state. I'm going to go deeper now into my silent meditation until the next words will be the vocal transmission coming through. You can relax now, allowing yourself to breathe freely and deeply. After 5 breaths, the energy in your mind begins to calm. I have given a teaching on the breath and how it can be used to center you in your heart already and to open the heart and allow you to sustain a heart connection. After 20 breaths, that connection is more directly aligned, more powerfully aligned. What I am saying about these breaths and this breath work tonight is not instead of what I have already taught through this channel about it, that I have referred to as the 5-5-5-5 breath work, totaling 20 breaths. It is not instead of. It is in addition to, adding in addition to. For after 20 breaths, why has the energy shifted? Why has the mind calmed? Why has the heart opened? Because you have relaxed yourselves enough to allow yourself to receive the natural flow that is already there, the natural flow that you do not have to make happen. You don't have to make anything happen. when it comes to bringing ourselves into alignment, you just have to clear the energies not necessarily that are blocking. Sometimes it is blocking, but that is imbalancing that energy flow. And what I spoke of last time, on the last full moon transmission, the last global transmission, is the way that the soul interconnects and interfaces with your nervous systems, uses it not just to incarnate in the body and inhabit the sacred vehicle and vessel and instrument and temple that your body is, but to activate a part of the tree of life and ground like the roots of the tree of life. Not just grounding you to, not just grounding the soul and anchoring it, connecting it to the body. But there's more to it than that. So in 20 breaths, and the more after that, it deepens even further. But in 20, your nervous system, your mind has relaxed because your nervous system begins to open and receive further that aligned flow of light. That is the light of your soul, that is the divine light, not just from externally, but also from internally. It is not just illuminated from the outside in, but from the inside out. And the more your nervous system is able to relax, 20 breaths is just the beginning. It is where a shift into that aligned flow starts to happen, especially if they are slow, deep breaths, preferably done through the nose. But it is still effective to be done anyway than it is to not do it at all. The mind begins to quiet as the nervous system begins to move into an aligned flow. The soul's energy moving in a flow of alignment with the next 5 and the next 5 and the next 5. Then a bigger shift takes place that takes you into a new cycle. You experience this, all of you, when you are relaxing at night and going to sleep, and if you are having a hard time falling asleep, if you're having a hard time calming the mind or controlling the mind. This is why breath work is also so valuable. But it may not just be breath work and breath work alone that the nervous system also needs. I am to encourage you to add visualization of alignment, an aligned flow with the soul, lighting up the tree of life of the nervous system within you, interfacing with your entire energy anatomy of your chakra system as well. Visualize that in whatever way you can. And visualize a flow, an aligned flow of that light, of that energy, of that life force, moving all the way through you. And not just through your body, not just through the nervous system. That's why I'm saying also to visualize your energy anatomy, your chakra system. Visualize that energy. And the energy moving through it. Not just the 7 major chakras, but also the chakra known as the Earth Star that connects you to the source energy within the Earth, and the Soul Star that connects you to the source energy of your soul that remains transcendent to your body, transcendent to the world, always. And that sources you directly to source energy beyond. Visualize that in whatever way you can. And when you visualize the tree, the nervous system and the roots of that tree of life interfacing with the chakra system and the Shishamna, the nervous system becomes not only in an aligned flow, but it becomes strengthened and fortified. Fortified by the source energy, strengthened by the source energy, the divine source, the source of all sources. When you source directly from the source energy, through your energy anatomy, and through the energetic system that you call the nervous system, which is an energetic system that moves electromagnetic energy and life force energy and soul frequencies. Other parts of your energy anatomy begin to expand. It is good for your body. It is good for your mind. It is good for your emotional heart. And it is good for the heart of your heart, which is your spirit, your soul. And you can be more who you are You can be more the soul that you are. Does it have to be in perfection? No. Remember, I am always saying it is a theme of mine intentionally. How many times I am reminding you all that you're not perfect in this human life. The perfection is not necessary. You don't even have to visualize what I'm describing to you perfectly. Visualize it to the best of your ability, and the more that you add visualizations to your breath work, the clearer that energy flow can become, the stronger it can be. But I don't want you to just breathe it, and I don't want you to just see it. Also, feel it. Feel it as soothing energy. Feel it as resilience. Feel it as fortification. Feel it as strength. Feel it as calm, because it can be any of those things or all of those things, all at the same time, that then can be what the energy is that is moving through you and that is moving through your nervous system. Feel it as the virtuous energy of hope. And allow that to move through your nervous system and through your entire energy anatomy. And what that does to your nervous system and your energy anatomy. And how it causes your life force energy to rise and your soul to come in even more strongly, to be more, even more of who you are. Bring in the virtuous energy. Feel the virtuous energy of courage. What does it feel in your nervous system? What does it feel in your energy system to be courage? To vibrate courage? Because so many of you know what it feels like to feel fear and what that vibration in your energy anatomy and in your nervous system feels like, in all of its various different forms that it guises and disguises itself in the form of worry, in the form of angst, in the form of anxiety, many different manifested forms of the energy of fear. You all know what it feels like to feel that energy in your energy system, in your nervous system. And all of you at some point in time have felt hopelessness in it and the effect of it upon you and your nervous systems as well. Those emotions. There's no greater way to transmute those energies or transform those energies, or transcend those energies, or transfigure those energies, than through the virtuous energies. It's not enough to just think in virtuous ways or believe in virtuous things. Those things are good. And by all means, do that. Bring those energies in. The soul will do so. Self-realization, which is in very different, varying degrees. Another term for what you call enlightenment that occurs in varying different degrees. Can also be called soul realization. The soul representing the full, true, authentic, whole, and complete self that's in the world and transcendent to it simultaneously. That's in your body and transcendent to it simultaneously. Some even refer to this as the higher self. But self-realization, spiritual enlightenment, soul realization is the embodiment. The embodiment of the energies that light you. Why has it been called enlightenment? Because it literally lights the tree of life within you. When the soul is remembered, is recognized. When you don't just speak about the virtues and attempt to live them externally, but manifest them internally, live them, be them, vibrate them through your entire energy field and energy anatomy and energetic anatomy of your nervous system. That is why I'm saying allow the alignment to happen, allow the flow to happen, visualize it, be in that flow as much as possible. Not to perfection, but as much as possible. Some days may be more possible than other days. But don't just stop there. Feel. Feel that presence of the soul's energy within you. Feel that it is you. That is you. That is you. You are the soul. You are not the thoughts. You are not the emotions. You are most certainly not the energies that are hyperstimulating your nervous systems. You are most certainly not the energies that hyperstimulate the nervous system sometimes so much that the alignment gets thrown off, the balance gets thrown off. The physical senses become hyper-stimulated as well. The mind hyper-stimulated, especially the analytical and egoic parts of the mind that then want to dominate and shut down the heart, even if it really truly can't. Unconscious efforts are made to do so to varying degrees. You don't need to understand all of how this works. As the archangel that is given the mission to protect humanity and protect the earth and all beings upon the earth. I understand it in ways that you do not. Because there's a lot of different types of protection. Many, many different types of protection. When you call upon me and ask for protection, if you feel that you are not receiving it exactly as the way you were expecting it, does not mean that you are not receiving it. Which is why the most effective form of prayer is to ask. Be specific in what you are asking, but then completely detach. Release it and detach it and surrender it for the highest good to be done, for the divine will to be done. I understand all of what I'm describing to you in ways that you cannot, not yet, but you will. There have been many tipping points reached already in your collective awakening, spiritual awakening. There are new tipping points coming this year with your collective spiritual awakening. That which is happening on the collective level affects you all personally, individually, and everything, all progress that you make in your soul realization, in your spiritual enlightenment, has a direct impact onto the collective energy field. It works both ways simultaneously because nothing is separate. No one is separate. So even these simple steps that I am outlining today and taking further today, and it doesn't even have to take a long time to do it. Maybe there needs to be some formal practice of it, but there also needs to be a practice of what I'm describing that just becomes a way of being, a way of living, a way of acting, a way of doing, which is ultimately what all meditation practice is ultimately meant to be. Even all formal types of meditation practice, and there are many and numerous types. Ultimately, there are as many types of meditation as there are souls, as there are individuals in the material world. All forms of that, however, all forms of meditation practice are truly meant to help you to become and to get to the point where your self-realization, soul realization has become fully integrated The practice I am describing today, yes, do it formally, but then begin to just go forward and do things and try to bring it into your daily way of living and being. Breathlessness. In and of itself, it is a sign for you. A sign to connect more deeply. To heal the nervous system. And this is a topic of growing interest in your world today. And I am in no way, shape, or form saying don't use other tools or methodologies to heal and align your nervous systems. I'm simply saying, in addition to. Because the most healing thing and protective thing is connection. Again and again, I have repeated and I will continue to repeat as an earth protector, the connection is your greatest protection. When your nervous systems are amped up, you're not connecting. Especially when they are amped up in nervous, anxious, or fear-based energies of any kind. It doesn't mean you're not connecting at all, but the full interface of the soul was not present. And even though the nervous system becomes calm, this does not mean that the nervous system cannot be stimulated in many incredible ways. When the soul is fully interfacing with your energetic anatomy and with the energy anatomy of your nervous systems, I used the term earlier, it's lit up. If you need to experience that as calming, you experience it as calming. If you need to experience that as energizing, you experience it as energizing. If you need to experience it as the spiritual fire that inspires and invigorates, a type of spiritual fire that is a type of passion, yes, but not a worldly passion in the way that you think of it, but also not devoid of the things that you enjoy about it. When your nervous system lights up the way that it does when you are being yourself, fully and completely, freely, joyously, blissfully yourself. That's a type of spiritual fire that you all seek, that you all are looking for in everything externally around you. You have very few words in your emotion vocabulary, even to describe it. When the soul is fully integrating through your energy anatomy and lighting up your nervous system and the way it can interface with it. The mystics, the ancients, have described this as the ecstatic state. Not ecstatic to the point where, again, you cannot do anything. That's quite the contrary. Enlightenment very much is about doing. But the doing and all the things that you're able to do, in fact, you're able to do so much more because you have a greater capacity to do so much more. When all of this energy is coming through and you're able to harness it and use what you're really capable of. Be who you are and utilize the gifts and what you are really capable of. You're able to do so much more. Doesn't mean you have to, but you are able to. And the capacity is there to do so. But the doing comes from your being versus the other way around. In your modern day life, there's just doing. There literally are people walking on the planet right now who are just going through the motions of doing everything they have to do, not being true to themselves, not being who they are, not even taking enough time from all that they are doing to even breathe and let that flow of their nervous system come, except for in sleep state and only in sleep state. So that what they do does not source from and through their being, does not manifest and be co-created through their being. And so there's a feeling of detachment. Is something detached in a healthy way? No, it feels more like disconnection, not true spiritual detachment. And a feeling of disempowerment. And so many other emotions that can come from that. The emotional experience of feeling like your life is meaningless, or that what you're doing at least is, can come from that. Whereas the spiritual fire that can light the tree of life within you, light your energy anatomy, light your energetic nervous systems. When you are being who you are. When you are doing all you're doing and doing it from your being, the core of your being, the core of your realized self, your realized soul. Realized meaning remembered and integrated. When that fire is lit, meaninglessness does not exist. Everything takes on new meaning. Who you are, the energy that you emit into the world, not just the things that you do. Through your actions and through your deeds and through all of your doing, you emit energy into the world, yes, but just by being, that's the energy that you emit into the world first and foremost, and that you emit and transfer and transmit through full transmission into the world through your actions, through your being. I'm giving an enlightenment teaching here today. Yes. And ultimately, it is not a new enlightenment teaching at all. It corresponds with so many ancient understandings and teachings on the subject of spiritual enlightenment, of spiritual ascension. But I am describing it in a more modern day terminology to inspire. And if it inspires you to think of it in this way and work with it in this way, if it inspires you, ultimately, it is my prayer, it is my intention that inspires you to live it, to be it, to be the soul that you are, to be the light that you are, to be the empowered, illuminated soul that is more magnificent than 10,000 suns, shining our light into this world, into this universe. Because it is also an illusion to just limit yourself by thinking that the energy that you transmit through all of the transmission that you do with your energy, that it stops with just the people around you, or that it stops with your communities, or even with humanity or the earth. It doesn't. You don't live in a sealed bubble or a sealed container. You live and exist and are meant to thrive in that existence, in all that you're receiving and all that you are transmitting, in a multidimensional spiritual form that is incarnate in a multidimensional universe. "11 dimensions known to your scientists." We say 12 because they are not always counting the very important dimension of the soul. When it's incarnate in the world. That's a whole other story in and of itself. And all you can do is start where you are by allowing yourself to just be who you are. Keep setting intentions for spiritual enlightenment. Keep choosing to live it and be it. and fully become it. And be grateful each day for the progress that you're making, even on days in which it feels like there's no progress at all. The gratitude alone is progress and will be progress. But know that the energies that are accelerating things and that are quickening things on the planet right now, that all of those energies that are causing things to feel as if everything is moving faster and so much is unfamiliar and there's whole new uncharted territory. What I've referred to as the energetic quickening for the earth and for all of humankind. Now that all those energies, as much as they may feel like it's difficult, they are ultimately meant to help you. And all of them can be used to help you advance, to evolve. To remember, to realize. But you can't cling. And what I mean by that is you can't try to control, especially the ego and the mind, cannot try to control the soul. I use the word flow. And that makes you think of water or wind, something that moves in a flow. You can swim in that flow. And in that way, yes, there is control, but not the kind of the ego, the kind of free will, the kind of your soul's true will. Being in the flow of that natural alignment of the soul's interface into this world. The soul's manifestation and creation and co-creation into this world. It doesn't have to just be a flow that feels like you're just floating. It doesn't have to be a flow that many of you are afraid of because you think you have no control of flow. You can also create many things that allow you to move with that flow. There are times in ancient times, ancient times, where living in this manner did happen. It did occur. So don't think it impossible. And don't think it impossible for this day and age because of the complexity of it and because of the chaos of it. Because of how much shadow that there is. Remember, the shadow is not the absence of the light. If there's increased shadow, and there indeed is in the world right now, some very dark shadow that is present in the world right now. It is not the absence of the light. It only exists because of the light. The only way there can be an increase of shadow in the world is because there's been an increase of light. And it's not a matter of which one is there more of than the other and which one's going to win. It's not a matter of battling a battle as to whether light or shadow is going to win. There is no such thing. Shadow is only real as shadow. It's not real as anything else. Its only real existence is as a temporary absorption of the light, or obscuring of the light, really is truly more accurate. But even that temporary obscuring of the light is not full and complete, nor can it be, because the shadow only exists because of the light. The shadow is part of the light. That's why it's not a battle between the light and the shadow. The shadow is not opposite of the light, or devoid of the light, or absence of the light. It's a part of it. And that becomes obvious when the light grows so strong that the shadow just disappears. Because that's how shadow exists. It temporarily is there. And then it dissolves. It dissipates. It transmutes. And so the shadow of your ego, and your false ego especially, the shadow-based ego especially, that tries to convince you that you are separate and that you are only your thoughts, that you are only your body, that you are your emotions, that your soul is an odd or strange thing that's foreign and can't be proven or can't be felt, or it's too hard or too difficult to do. Enlightenment, it's just not believing in that shadow. And turning to the light of truth, the light of love. That illuminates it all. That is the source of it all. That's what we do. We do not teach anything that we do not live. My name, Michael. As this channel has said in the translation of that name, like unto God. That likeness is a way that I live, exist, be, and all that I am and all that I do. And so from the truth of that I am, I speak these words to you. I give you this transmission to illuminate and enlighten in any way that it can now, and as seeds for it to grow even more brightly. With my prayer, and with all of my love. That's the end of the message and the meditation. Let's just slowly start to bring ourselves up out of it. But as we're coming up out of it, let's do the completion of the praise. This time we're just going to do just the Adonai Elohim by itself, just a few times to bring it full circle back through the process and complete the process. Adonai Elohim, Adonai Elohim. Adonai Elohim, Adonai Elohim. And then we bring ourselves even more up out of the meditation. As I'm coming up out of the meditation, I'll share a few things. In the very beginning, even before he started speaking, I clairaudiently heard him say that the theme of these messages is not just one thing, but if there is one thing he'll call a theme or put towards a theme would be the word enlightenment. So I'm not enlightenment, I'm sorry. Alignment. Alignment was what I heard. That was the auditory message I heard. The word alignment. And he used it a lot last time, and he used it a lot this time also. So alignment, but not any kind of alignment. It seems to be like body, mind, heart, spirit, soul alignment, right? So kind of alignment on all levels, definitely on the soul level. It felt to me like he's not just giving us a teaching here, he's trying to facilitate something for us in the way that he was saying it, especially in the beginning. Later on, it became more like teaching that he gives, but especially in the beginning, it was like he was trying to take us through something. So again, I recommend not just listening to this and trying to analyze it with the mind or just take notes from it or something, but I actually listen to it the same way that you would listen to a guided meditation. It's not exactly a guided meditation. I received some inspiration from it that I could turn it into one, like many channelings I've done over the years from him could actually be, I've actually turned into meditations, guided meditations based on what he's described. But even when I turn into guided meditations, I still think that the way that he is trying to take us through is very important. And also kind of if we can get into that deeply receptive place, to be able to get into that place where whatever energy work he's trying to do on us too, and that was very obvious to me, for me, is that like all this energy transmission I could feel happening going everywhere. But also for me personally, I was feeling a lot of what he was saying and experiencing a lot of what he was saying. And even in the work that I do with angelic healing, you know, there's sometimes the angels can they can't do it for us, but they can help us energetically be able to do some of it, right? Like integrate some of it. So it did feel like some of that was happening. There was some like angelic healing work that was being done. Um, Later on, when he goes into some of the teachings, that was, I'd say, probably the end of the part where it felt like he was doing kind of the experiential piece of it. I love the fact that he was, giving these very profound teachings, but he's also saying, "Hey, all we have to do is start where we are and just, be sincere about it. Ultimately, really, it's about sincerity, persistence, perseverance. I mean, those are virtues too that he's described over the years. At least this perseverance and persistence are, and just kind of again, like let's embody that. Like let's put that into our entire system, right? And it's not something that again has to take a long time, but it also may not be instant either, right? I think we need to take time out of that equation. Often people think, well, how long is it going to take me to get enlightened? And if it's not instantaneous, then, sorry, not interested in that. Like next, or they've been experiencing things for many, many years, and they think it's going to take many more years then, and they kind of give up on it then. So I don't feel like time is a part of the equation that he's talking about there, because the soul is like eternal, right? The soul is eternal. Um, and then there's the part that he was saying, oh my gosh, the part that he was saying about the way that the spiritual fire can light up that tree of life. I was really feeling it like lighting up the whole nervous system, lighting up the whole Shushumna, the chakra system, like literally like all of it like lighting up. I even started to see some like points of the Merkaba beginning to light up. So it's really like quite elaborate dimensions of the energy anatomy. That was very amazing just to feel that and to get even just a glimpse of what he was talking about again in the way that it comes through for me. He's saying visualize that and have that come through in any way that it comes through for you, even if it's just one thing at a time, right? Uh, let's see. And then the whole thing that the thing that he said there at the end about the shadow, I feel like even if nothing else in this message got shared, that part of it alone would be a super, super important part of this message that, it would be worth the whole transmission to come to the transmission just for that part of the message. And there's all this other stuff before it, right? So I always feel so uplifted and also in awe after these messages. I can check the chat now if anybody wants to put any questions or make any comments, even if the comment is just to say goodbye, is because as soon as I check the chat, we'll be finished. I'm going to stop the recording just for the sake of the length of it.